Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And before we get started, I just want to acknowledge as well, our country here in the U.S., we're in, sad but crucial times. And I just want everybody to know that, as far as myself at MassBio, the entire MassBio team, and our entire industry here in Massachusetts, we stand by every person of color out there, and that we're going to treat this systemic racism the same way we treat the problem of solving unmet medical need. So I apologize if I'm a little down today. I'm going to try to get through it, and I'm sure that while I talk about my favorite subject, which is patient advocacy, I think I'm going to break through and I'll be okay, all right? It's great to see so many faces here as well, so many familiar faces. So I hope that this talk that I give today, I'm going to have about 20 minutes of talk, 10 minutes of Q&A, and I want to try to explain in a little more detail, maybe than even some of you folks have ever heard, about how I came to this industry, how we made Massachusetts a top place in the world for this industry, and what's next, all right? So we're going to do that in a shorter period of time. And what I decided to do is put together a little presentation today that I'm going to try to get it up and make sure. Oh, look at this. It's working, huh? Can everyone see that okay? You're muted, but shake your head if you can see it okay. I have become a Zoom master. Before COVID-19, I couldn't even make a copy in a copy machine, okay? So we've come a long way. So there is a silver lining to all of this. I want to talk, folks, about, let me see how I move the slide here. There we go. I want to talk about our story. You see that picture on the left there, guys? That's back in, I don't know, around the year, that was probably 2001. And 2001, when I was running for the House of Representatives. As Rob, and I want to thank Alicia and Rob for having me and putting this together. Thank you to the folks at SwissNext, as well as Inspire and everybody else who's involved. But as Rob said, I am a recovering politician. I don't want you guys to hold that against me, but I used to work in the body politic, and my stretch goal in life was to become a member of the United States Senate or perhaps governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But things shifted, and things shifted because life happened, okay? I went to a Merchant Marine Academy. I was on the school committee in my town that I live in, the Board of Selectmen in my town, and when I became 30 years old, I was vice president of a environmental services company selling environmental services to the life sciences industry and to hospitals and universities, but I decided I wasn't happy. I was having my first midlife crisis. I was 30 years old, and I'm like, something's got to give. I decided I wanted to run for the House of Representatives, so I did something that was very unpopular. I decided as a Democrat to run against a sitting Democrat who at the time was an assistant majority leader in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. Why did I want to do that? And it's interesting to reflect back to that time, because I wanted to make change. And I didn't like how politicians weren't doing what people wanted. And it had nothing to do with our industry. It was actually more about economic development. I grew up at Clean Harbors, and year after year, people would talk about how Massachusetts wasn't a business-friendly Commonwealth. We weren't a business-friendly state. We were known as Taxachusetts back in the day, right? Companies would leave here. They wouldn't come here. But, we were good at a lot of things. I would always say we benefited from our Yankee ingenuity, but our downfall was our Yankee arrogance. How do we stop being arrogant? How do we say it's okay for people to come here? How do we recruit people to come here? And how do we capitalize on the amazing talent that we had here in Massachusetts? So I wanted government to change how they were doing business and become more business friendly. Now that doesn't make me this conservative, just because I'm fiscally conservative, it didn't mean that I couldn't be socially liberal. So the story went on. Long story short, I won, okay? So while I was running for that office, you see, little Mary Kate right now is the little girl on the left that kind of has a boy's regular haircut back then. She didn't grow hair for a long time. She's actually 23 years old right now and going for her doctorate nurse practitioner degree, working in healthcare. Little Paul wearing the coveralls right now, he's 6'6", and he's going to the Maritime Academy like I did. And right in Mommy's belly, as you can see in Mommy's belly right there, she was pregnant. We're having our third child. And I was such a self-absorbed jerk back then that I was excited that she was pregnant, because when we showed her pregnant in the brochures, I knew I could get about 15% more of the vote. You know, having mom being pregnant sold in politics. This is what I was thinking, right? And, you know, lo and behold, she was having her OBGYN appointment, and they found out that she was a carrier of a mutation for cystic fibrosis. Again, being all-knowing, I'm like, hey, we have 2 healthy kids. There's no way we're having a kid with cystic fibrosis. I'm probably not a carrier, even though you are. I thought that if you had, if CF was in your family, all the kids needed to have it. Obviously, I was wrong. Long and short of it is, I got tested, found out I was a carrier. We were the first couple here in Massachusetts to have that unborn baby at 20 weeks. We did an amnio, and at 21 weeks, we found out we were going to have a child with cystic fibrosis. It changed my world, okay? I was already involved with the CF Foundation because my brother married into a family that had kids with cystic fibrosis. And, you know, I'll talk more about that as we go. But while in politics, I started gravitating towards how could I make Massachusetts a better place for innovation? How could government do things that would allow Genzyme and Vertex and Genetics Institute back in the day, and Biogen and Millennium, right? I'm naming some older companies. How could government actually pass laws that were good for somatic cell nuclear transfer, stem cell research, right? How could we really put together tax incentive packages to play our strength? How could we capitalize on 122 colleges and universities? Well, I became the go-to person in government because I had a kid that I didn't want to die. I was spending more time with the biotech industry figuring out what it was that we needed to do. That, God, if you guys any of you live in the 11th Norfolk District, which is Dedham, Westwood, and Walpole, I hate to tell you this, I was spending more time working on biotech issues than I was on regular issues for my district, because I was being consumed with the fact that I couldn't sit idle, not being a doctor, not being a scientist. What could I do so that my kid wouldn't die? Okay, so this beautiful baby wouldn't die. And I also was working a lot with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So while I wasn't being a lawmaker here in Massachusetts, I was working with the CF Foundation, and I learned a lot, ladies and gentlemen, about how to raise money and how to invest in companies, and long and short of it, how to buy a cure. When Bobby was born, I thought doctors invented cures. I quickly found out that cures need to be bought, that the toughest thing in the world is to invent a therapy or a cure for an unmet medical need. In fact, I use the word cure a lot, and I was advised many times to back off. Stop setting false expectations. We in this industry don't invent cures, we invent therapies. Well, boom, we know that isn't the case anymore, right? And we're moving in the right direction. So while at the CF Foundation, we set up Bobby's Brigade. I don't know, Bobby was probably about 5 or 6, 7 years old in that picture. Year after year, we got involved. I got together with my friend Joe O'Donnell at the Joey Fund. Our goal was to raise $100 million for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. We raised over $500 million and invested in companies like Vertex, FoldRx, Combinatorix, Altus, Alnylam, Alnara. The list goes on. And I got more and more frustrated because I realized that it is so hard to invent a therapy, and the clock was ticking. The clock was ticking. In 2007, after doing some time, I left the legislature and I joined the Patrick administration. And working with Governor Patrick, he said, why don't we try to play our strengths, and why don't we figure out how we can make Massachusetts the best place in the world for the life sciences. We were a top 10 cluster at the time. He said, Bob, if we really get academia, industry, and government working together, there isn't a problem we can't solve. So I decided to join MassBio in 2007, and the Wall Street crashed like a month later. And I was like, holy Moses, what did I do? What was I thinking? But again, let's talk about, with every crisis, comes opportunity. This gave us an opportunity at MassBio to actually, in Massachusetts, change how the drug discovery platform was developed. And we really started focusing on what is it that we can do to promote external innovation. Now, let me just tell you a story, because if we don't learn from history, we do not learn at all. This picture is of Route 128, okay? Back in the late 80s, mid 80s, all through the 80s, Massachusetts, Route 128 was known as America's technology highway. Why is that? And again, the history lesson is very appropriate right now, because we were the best place in the world for computers. We had companies like Wang, Digital Equipment Corp, Data General, right? All of these companies that were here in Massachusetts were doing great. Why were they here? Because we had smart people coming out of Harvard, MIT, UMass, all these other world-class academic institutions, and we recruit people from all over the world to come to these academic institutions and stay here. We realized that this is so we had a critical mass of industry. We had the talent, so you had academia and industry working together, but government was not our partner. Government had a bad tax code. We didn't do anything for incentives. We weren't good to business. And you think about that, we lost it. And when we lost it, this was Kendall Square. So if you look at Kendall Square, which is currently the highest concentration density of R&D employees in the world, look at it back then. When we were kicking butt in the computing high-tech industry, Kendall Square was barren. It was not a good place to come to. You had the Volpe Transportation Building that was a gift from the United States government. You had MIT all along the river, and then everything else was just barren. It was horrible because that was the old economy and it was gone. So let's look at Kendall Square now. So you take a good look at this slide, okay? Now we're going to go to Kendall Square now. Bam. We've added 12 million square feet of lab space in the last decade, and it's all filled, okay? How did it happen, okay? Because a lot of this happened during a depression from 2007 to 2012. We had a depression. We didn't have an IPO market. What did we do? We got together. And I'll show you this. This is where industry, academia, and government truly came together. In 2007 and 2008, we made a deal that industry, government, and academia were going to work together as a team to go out and recruit all the top pharma companies to come here and do deals with the 400 to 500 small biotech companies that would have gone out of business because the IPO market went away. You didn't invent a biotech or a pharma company without an IPO prior to this. 2007 to 2012, no IPOs. Deval Patrick, this was at the Bio International Convention in 2012. We were crushing it at the time. And do you know what I said to Deval in that picture? Some of you guys may have heard this before, but I was saying, Deval, Governor, if you continue to dress like me, I'm not going to go out in public with you. And he said, Bob, if you keep eating the way you are in the private sector, that suit isn't going to fit you anymore. And he was correct. But we were a team, okay? And if without a partner in government, you can't succeed. Guys, people don't come here because the weather's good, right? They don't come here because we didn't have a traffic and congestion problem pre-COVID-19, right? And that's going to come back. They didn't come here because it's cheap. They came here because our natural resource was talent. Okay? And we were open to the world. And that's how it all happened. So let's look at what's happened since 99 to 07. There were only a couple of companies here. This all started back in 2007. We brought Bristol Myers Squibb came in, Shire came in. We started winning manufacturing opportunities. So not only were we growing in research and development, but also biomanufacturing. Today, 18 of the top 20 pharma companies have a physical presence here in Massachusetts. It only started with, BD deals. Then they wanted to do R&D here. Now we're doing research, development, and manufacturing. R, D, and M. A lot of these companies aren't headquartered here. We don't care. We'll partner with anybody in the world. Guys, this isn't about stealing from other places. This isn't about an economic development war or a job creation war. What this is about is creating an environment so that companies from no matter where they come from have the best chance of solving unmet medical need, because with the tide, all boats rise. This is about getting better at helping patients. It's not just about creating jobs or stealing stuff to come to Massachusetts. We share all of these ideas with all of our partners from economic development agencies from other countries. We share all these ideas with my colleagues from all over the United States of America, because there are good ideas everywhere, all right? I don't want this to seem like a big pat on the back. We want everybody to get better as we do this. If you look at how we grew, look at over 12.5 million, closer to 13 million square feet of lab space now. industry has grown by 35%. If you look at back to '07 all the way to 2012, the fact that we could grow during a depression. It wasn't like a self-inflicted coma that we've put our economy into right now as a result of COVID-19. Wall Street crashed. It crashed, okay? And we grew. So that now, when you look at what's going through COVID-19, it's a different situation. And I think we're going to come through this okay. I think we're actually going to come out the other side better, and I'll close out with some of those comments. I want to let you know, guys, that if we don't make this personal, and the reason we all need to be patient advocates, and the reason I go to politicians that are bad to our industry, and I tell them that they don't care about the sick people that live in their district, and they don't want to save the lives of their sick people that can vote for them, and the fact that I will go after them politically because they don't stand for what's good for patients, it is personal. Let me tell you, you know, over the last 18 years, I've had a lot of ups and downs, and quite frankly, my little guy with cystic fibrosis, that's Bobby here. He was on the front, we were on the front page of the Boston Globe, January 1st, 2019, talking about the fact that we were running out of time. We were running out of time. The first few therapies that were invented for cystic fibrosis did not work for Bobby because of one of his tricky mutations. And that's devastating. To be involved with the CF Foundation and to raise so much money and to see drugs invented that don't work for his particular combination of mutations was just, it was catastrophic. But we never give up. We don't give up, because in this industry, if you're not persistent, you don't belong here, right? This is a fight. This is a fight for people's lives, and we have to take it as personal as we can. And when politicians don't agree with us, we need to get them out of office. And we need to use the power of patient advocacy organizations to do that. And we've done it. And politicians here in Massachusetts know that they can't be against this industry, because not only are we driving the economy here in Massachusetts, right? We're saving the lives of sick people. On November 8th, 2019, my little guy took his first dose of Trikafta. I'm going to cry right now talking about it because I can't help it. He's graduating from high school on Saturday. We didn't expect that, right? His lung function now is better today than it was 3 years ago. He's gained 15 pounds in the last 6 months. He's taller than me. He's grown like 3 inches as well. And by the way, being taller than me doesn't mean you're tall, but he is tall. He's a lot taller than me. And when you look at what's happened here, this is personal. So everything that all of you do as patient advocates and people that work in the life sciences industry, there isn't anything more important than it, because look at the lives of patients that we're changing. Just here in Massachusetts, there's 265 million patients taking therapies that were invented here, 2 billion patients around the world. And that's just here. That's just here. You add that up to what we're doing all the way around the world, and you look at why we do what we do. There's little Bobby right now. As you can tell, he looks like his mom. He's a handsome, handsome young man. And he's taken Trikafta, and it's meant the world to us. It's our whole world, right? That's why we do it. And I guess what gets me so passionate now is thinking about the people who haven't made it, or the people that have died while we're fighting this fight. That's why we got to fight even harder. And I'll never give up. I'm not going to give up till this every single person with cystic fibrosis has a therapy. I'm not going to give up till there's something for ALS, Alzheimer's, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. You go and go and go, folks, because we have the most honorable profession in the world. And when it comes to COVID-19, think about it. Did you guys ever think, I didn't think this 3-4 months ago, did you ever think that the most important thing to the world's economy would be a vaccine? Did you ever think that the only way we're going to get out of this problem we're in, which is horrible, is a therapy and a vaccine and diagnostic tests from our industry? Right now, there's over 70 companies in Massachusetts that are doing research in COVID-19. Think about that, okay? That is truly amazing, guys. And it is because of what we do as an industry. You know, I think from now, I'm more hopeful than ever, because one of the things that was bothering me about this industry, and many of you guys know, and you've seen me lose my mind with politicians, and when someone will say, oh, drugs are too expensive, or they don't add value to the healthcare system, or government invents drugs, why do pharma companies make millions of dollars. Stop the nonsense, guys, and ask yourself right now, who's going to solve the problem we're in right now? Is it going to be government? No. Right now, when I was talking to my son a couple weeks ago, because he's not going to college, right? He's not going to go live at college. He has end-stage liver disease. He needs a liver transplant. That sucks, but so what? He's going to live. We're going to get through it. So it's not as bad as it sounds because his lungs are getting better. So that being said, he's going to commute. Now he's not going to commute because of COVID-19. He's going to take online classes. If he gets this, he will die, okay? And we can't risk it. So he and I are talking, and he shed some light on me that I want to share with you real quick so I can do a question or two. As you can tell, I am getting jacked up. Now Bobby says to me, he goes, Dad, I know, he goes, I go, are you okay? You've been locked down for about 75 days now. I'm more worried about your mental health than your physical health. Are you all right? And he goes, yeah, Dad. He goes, I almost feel like my friends understand what it feels like now. Because every year when flu season was in, we'd lock them down because we didn't know if Tamiflu would work. We've used it, and thank God it has worked in the past, but we didn't want them to get the regular flu. So now he's saying, yeah, my friends know what it feels like to be scared about being sick or not having a medicine for something. So it really gives me the opportunity, all of us the opportunity to feel good about the fact, and again, this is a catastrophic thing that's happening with COVID-19, and obviously we can't take advantage of that, but it is an opportunity for people to understand that anyone who's experiencing unmet medical need, they know what that fear feels like, and they know that without a therapy, they will die, or they may not live somewhat of a air quote normal life, right? Well, now everybody in the world knows what it feels like to be waiting for a medicine so that they can go back to somewhat of a normal life. And you want to know something? It's important that as an industry, we let everybody know that and we talk about it and we don't feel bad talking about it. And I'm going to keep talking about it. And it's going to, for the first time in my career, I feel like we'll be able to come out of this because the communication with government, I mean, I briefed our entire delegation down in Washington, D.C. yesterday, obviously via Zoom. But, it's amazing how much more well-received we are by people that just 6 months ago were trying to throw us to the curb because it was politically popular or easy. So that's going to stop. I'm going to stop right there. I love all you guys. I can't thank you for what you do for a living because it's people like you that go to work every day to save people like my son and so many others. So thank you for that. I'm happy to answer a couple questions before we run out of time.
Question, Bob. My name is Luke Ryan. I'm a
Hi,
father.
Luke.
I'm the father of a child who has juvenile. Geez, your speech was awesome. Juvenile dermatomyositis, and also have a big marketing background myself. Been doing a lot of advocacy and awareness too. What have you found to be the most effective means of kind of driving forward?
Well, it comes down to money and awareness, right? So when you're running a disease foundation or an organization, you need both, okay? People think, like the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, we're celebrating this year our 65th anniversary, and that's why we're calling it the 65 Roses anniversary. When you see 65 roses in cystic fibrosis, it's because the woman who founded the foundation 65 years ago, her son couldn't say cystic fibrosis. He said he had 65 roses, and that's why, you hear a lot about that. So we had the advantage of years and years and years of struggle and consolidation and all the different entities getting together. And we decided when the gene was identified back in the late 80s by the Dr. Francis Collins, who heads up the NIH, that we were going to all pool money together and have one group doing all of our investments. And if you don't, Vertex isn't even the company that founded that. It was Aurora that Vertex acquired. And then we had to really come up with money to convince the board of Vertex to continue the CF research. So it's about awareness. There's only 30,000 people in the US that have cystic fibrosis. You'd think there are a lot more because we're a bunch of loudmouths, right? Well, it's good to be a loudmouth and it's good to bang your chest and it's good to beat the drum. So the most important thing for us, money, awareness, and never, ever, ever give up.